I'm Constance, or Connie is fine, Connie Agee, and with Agee Fashion Institute. And California, I've been partnered with California Capital for quite some time now. And I started out just like a lot of you probably would have started out with having assistance with through the PTAC area and working from a veteran standpoint, as I am a veteran. So the school itself, just to give you a little bit of background about what who we are and what we do. So the school itself is vocational education, and mainly for fashion, and now that has evolved into more than fashion, into sewn products or sewn product manufacturing as well. What I just kind of want to let you guys know here is that, of course, everyone is obviously aware of everything that's going on in the world as far as COVID and so forth. So that part of our school and what we do to assist people with skills training and workforce development really has launched and propelled in that particular area. One of the things that when we talk about sewn product manufacturing, typically what people are thinking is, well, for fashion in any case, is just clothing. And there's so much more to it than just clothing. So when we add the manufacturing piece to it, what we're doing is we're really kind of letting people know, or trying to educate them into seeing that more of what we think is involved with sewn products. So when we say sewn product, we have clothing, which is apparel, then we have non-apparel products as well. So what you're going to learn and discover in these next webinars, which is 2, as Sarah had stated. Session 1, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about our delivery approach and how we actually train our students, and how we work with California Capital, and also some of our other partners, which is Symbio, Prototyping Guild, AMW Design, and some others as well. But mainly those, because we are closely knit in that your training as far as the lab is concerned, if you decide that you're going to move forward into the lab piece, is going to be held at the Symbio lab itself in Rancho Cordova. We'll talk a little bit about about individual benefits and what you can do for yourself if you want to start a business, and also organizations that might actually, or that will actually want to get their members some sort of skill set training. And also particularly, it may be an organization in the community that needs a training in their specific language. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well, and how that's actually come about and has evolved. And we'll go over the course objectives, of course, and what concept to consumer actually means. And sometimes that's a little difficult for people. Well, not everyone understands it. When we say concept to consumer, what does that actually mean? From the idea of something and taking it all the way through a process of taking it to the consumer in a product that is actually sellable. And during this time, of course, what are we doing? Most likely it's going to be e-commerce, because not a lot of people, some people of course are still going to the malls, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on online. So we'll talk about a little bit about how that actually works as well. And then we're going to get into career pathways, what those opportunities are for each one of the career pathways, which is sewing operations, pattern engineering, prototyping, and so forth. So there's 4 different ones. And of course, since this is our second cohort, we've actually added within the pathway an instruction pathway as well, which would be an Afi Certified Trainer. We'll cover a little bit about the different sectors of the sewn products industry, and then we're going to talk briefly about apparel products versus non-apparel products and what those are and what they look like. Now in session 2, that's where we're going to get a bit more into the technology piece, and I want to give you, you're going to be able to see some of the instructors doing or performing some of the tasks that will be done from a technology perspective, which actually helps with what we call speed to market. And again, manufacturing. So that would be with laser cutters, 3D printing, We'll talk a bit about specifications packages and the administration that's necessary to take a product from the concept to consumer in respects to money and or as far as financing, and whether or not you're going to have a business for yourself and what that looks like, and how those specifications and the costs and what you're charging people come into, how that comes into play, and how California Capital can help you in those specific areas from their business entrepreneurship classes as well. So there's a lot of synergy that's happening, and you'll be able to see how all of that actually comes together based on, again, whether you want to work as an individual and work out of your home, or if you're coming from an organizational perspective and helping people get into the program from that area or from that perspective. I just want to take a minute to introduce to you and let you all become aware of our team. And as I said before, this is our second cohort, and things have really started moving. We've had staff, of course, you know, with AFI as far as the fashion piece of it, but now that we're incorporating the manufacturing piece, we've actually come to start training what we call AFI Certified Trainers. And Mary Farsh, I believe she's on the line. She is one of our AFI Certified Trainers, and she is basically a liaison between the Arabic community, and she is our sewing instructor and sewing operations instructor, as well as pattern making and prototyping. So she's really pretty much gone from A to Z, or is going from A to Z, to make sure that she is eligible and qualified to help people learn more in their in the communities of their specific language. Then we have Ernestine Holmes, who is also AFI certified training with prototyping, but as well as pattern making as well. Pachia Vang, she is our pattern engineering instructor, and she's a liaison with the Hmong community, as well as English as well. And so all of these students, these three instructors, so you all know, actually came through the first program with California Capital. And so again, that is just another area of a pathway that you can take if you decide that you like something well enough. And they've been hired on with AFI and Symbio to deliver the training to the community and for different programs that are funded. Okay, we do have our partner collaboration, and that partner collaboration is instructors are Kai Ulrich and Eric Sweet. And how they come into play, they are actually at the Symbio location as well. And Kai Ulrich deals with electronics for wearable items. And you would be able to take classes with that particular instructor and see how the electronics actually works into clothing or into bags. It could be apparel or non-apparel products. So it's really exciting in how they pull everything together. But what's really important, of course, is you got to know how to actually create something before you even can use that technology of electronics for wearable or for bags or anything else that you might have. But again, just to give you an idea of where this is all going and what your opportunities would be. The robotics is Eric Sweet again, and robotics, believe it or not, does have some apparel or some sewn products as well. Just as an example, the robotics itself they have these little sewn product hands that go over the robot's hands like this. Those are products that could be made for industry. It could be for NASA. It could be for Aerospace Dynamics. It could be for any particular company that needs that type of product. So it's really kind of an exciting time to see how everything works together in the collaboration and the synergy with all of the other career fields that we cross promote. So you really want to make sure that you're paying attention to that as well, and looking at the opportunities beyond this particular introduction, because there are many. Okay. Any questions so far about that part? And if everyone that's coming in would just move themselves to mute, that would be awesome, and minimize the back noise. No questions? Okay. So our training delivery, our curriculum, basically the way that it's delivered is in a blended environment. With COVID COVID has really caused a lot of places to have to retool and and restate how their delivery should be done. So what we've done is we have the lab, and then of course we have our online. And the online training itself is a support of the lab. What's necessary, and that we've seen throughout the training program that we have, is that we know that the experiential learning or the lab is very important, but as important is also the lecture piece. And with that means basically that there's some reading that would need to be done so that you can familiarize yourself with the content or with the work that you're going to be doing in the lab itself. So that's done with our AFI online resource library, and students that decide that they're going to register for the course are required to go into that library and sign up so that they can receive their password and their access, so that they have access to the materials and the content that they need pre coming to the lab. Because when you come to the lab, we want to make sure that you are, again, familiar with what's going on. It's a whole nother language that you're going to be learning. And when you're coming to the classroom, you're coming with questions. And that's what's really good. We want to give you the maximum amount of time in the lab to actually get your hands dirty and to really work on the projects by reading through the materials and going through the online resource library. That's going to position you and prepare you for that lab. So that's very important. And then of course the obvious, which is the experiential learning. That part is 3 days. Now there has been some questions around what that looks like. What if I register for the class and then I can't make it to the next ones and so forth. So what we've done here is we have for the month of March, and I believe it's beginning March 16th, that's going to be day 1 of the lab, and you're going to go again for 3 weeks, 3 consecutive Tuesdays. If you cannot make that second class and you need to, for whatever reason, things come up in our lives, well, there are some other options for April, May, and June. They would be a different day, but you will be able to sign up for that next session for the second day, but you would have to make sure that you made the third one right away. What we don't want to get into, and it's not a benefit for you, is to take one lab class and then not take another one for 2 months. You're pretty much going to just lose everything that you learned the first time. So although we will allow people to move that class to the next month, the third class would need to be taken pretty much right away. Okay, so we want to make sure that's clear. One of the other things that we want to make clear here is that typically our classes are small and they are 10 people, but because of COVID, we've had to actually change that to 5. And 5 is a good number for COVID. It allows us to everyone to socially distance. It also has a benefit of giving you more personal attention as well from the instructor. So there's some benefits to that. So what we've done is we've split it up into 2 sessions. We have a morning session and then we have an afternoon session. That morning session is from 9:30 in the morning and it runs to 12:30. All of the classes and the lab are for 3 hours. It has to be 3 hours. It goes by very fast, and you guys will see that when you actually start getting into the work of the lab. Now, if you're going to register and you decide that you want to register for this program, then I believe California Capital Sarah has put a link in the chat so that you can actually, that's going to take you to the California site to register. It is first come, first serve. So once all 5 slots are taken in the morning, and then there's no more left, you're going to have to go through to the evening or to the afternoon or to another month, whatever that particular case is. I can tell you that people have already started signing up. So again, if you're thinking that you want to go ahead and register for a class, you want to go ahead and get that done. Sarah, do you have anything else to add to that before I move forward?
No, you explained it perfectly, and I will be dropping the link in the chat right now. The links I provided before was everything I covered in my intro, but I will be dropping the link in the chat right now.
Okay, great. Now, in regards to safety of our students is definitely very important. So one of the things that we do, one of the many things that we do is we make sure that we sanitize all of the equipment, and that would include the tools that the students are going to be using as well. Now, everyone does have to wear a face mask during the class. During the lab time, you must wear the face mask. There are no exceptions to it other than if you have a face shield, that would be acceptable. The instructors also are wearing the mask for everyone's safety. Now, one of the things that I would suggest for individuals, if you think that you're going to, again, go ahead and sign up or register for the class and you have a machine, then it is in your best interest to bring the machine. This is your opportunity to have experienced instructors to actually work with you with your machine if you have any questions. Now, that should not having a machine should not prevent you from registering for the class, because we have machines on site, and those machines are available for students for your use so that you can actually experience different types of machines. But again, if you have your own, you'll be the only one that's using it. You're going to bring it, make sure that you've taken it out of the box. Of course, if it's been in the garage for 2 years or 3 years, it's probably very dusty and not serviceable. And so we want to make sure that those machines are serviceable before you actually get to the classroom. Okay. If you're feeling ill, or if you were exposed to anyone that may have tested positive for the virus, or you have any sort of symptoms, you always want to make sure that you let the instructor know. Everything, of course, is confidential. We do not share that information with other students. What we would share is we would share that there was someone that was exposed in whatever situation. Didn't even necessarily have to be a student. Maybe it was an instructor, who knows? But we would let students know that. And at that time, you must be prepared to transfer your learning to the online platform. And it may be temporary, or it may be that we reschedule a class to another day or something, or another 2 weeks, or maybe move it out to the next month, whatever the case is. But we do want to make sure that we let you know that is definitely a possibility. It has happened before, and we have had to move classroom training to the online platform. And again, that's another benefit of being able to have the hybrid or the blended learning, is because we can actually move between both locations, online as well as in person. As I mentioned before about individuals and organizations, if you are an individual that is looking to learn this new skill set because you want to learn this skill to create a product and get a business online and just know how the concept to consumer process works, how to create the pattern, how to make the prototype, how to actually read specifications, how to get contracts. All of that information is going to be covered within your training. And you would be able you would be advised or suggested when you should actually take that knowledge and seek the assistance of a counselor at California Capital, because that's part of what all of this is about. You're gaining knowledge, you're gaining a skill set, and now what are you going to do with it? This is not just about, oh, I learned how to sew, or I learned how to draft a pattern. There is gigging work out there. There are organizations that are asking people. We get continuous companies calling us saying, hey, I need a cutting service. Well, we have an industrial cutting that you're going to be learning. Hey, I need someone to draft a pattern for me. Well, that's pattern engineering. Or I need someone I have a line and my collection has blown up, or my product has blown up and I'm just overwhelmed. I need someone to help me sew the product. Well, there's a sewing network that we have that you can become a part of. After you finish the program, you are eligible for that sewing network. You can do that to make money and to help your family or your community or whatever the case is, bring extra money into the house while you work from home. So those are some other great opportunities as far as individuals. Organizations, again, the same thing. One of the challenges that we've had is organizations that maybe had not had their community in the programs because of language barriers. And those opportunities were not the same or provided for those individuals. They felt like they had no recourse because they couldn't sit in the classroom. Well, we've actually rectified that as well, because now we have AFI certified trainers who are eligible to teach those communities. So those organizations, of course, are going to have to let us know, or California Capital know what it is that they can do to help. Now, one of the things that they can do to help, I just want to bring this up really quickly, is if you're an organization or even an individual and you actually have a language barrier or you need to have assistance in the classroom, you need to let California Capital know when you register, require a translator or whatever the situation is. And then they will make sure that they let you know what assistance that they can give you for that. If you're an organization, they must know whether or not your students are going to need a translator in that class. If that's the case, we at AFI make sure that if we have a translator on hand or an instructor in that particular language, that instructor can actually deliver that class. So that's been a really great benefit as well, with having students come through California Capital and then come through the pathway of becoming a teacher, become an instructor. If you're not an AFI certified instructor, regardless of the organization, that no one can just teach the project or the product. Okay, that curriculum must be taught by a qualified person. So if that means that if you have an idea as an organization that you're going to want that to happen, then you need to contact me and let me know so that we can make some sort of arrangements or see what we can do about getting them into the certified trainer program. Now, before they can even get to that program, of course, they have to go through the specific skill set. If they want to, they're saying, I love math and I really would like to do the pattern engineering. Well, there's a pattern engineering skill set that is a 6-week program once a week that person has to go through before they go into the certified trainer program, because in the certified trainer program, they learn to deliver the product or the curriculum. Okay, you learn the skill set, then you learn how to deliver it. So those are two different things. So again, although the information, any information questions that you have can come directly to me or with California Capital, and we'll make sure that we at least have a discussion about it. Okay. Our course objectives, really quickly. So now the objective of this course is really to familiarize you with the possibilities. And those possibilities are endless once you actually gain the knowledge and the skill set. And what we want you to do is, as an introductory course, is we want you to have or walk away with an understanding of those opportunities. How can I use my skill set as an operator? How can I use my skill set as a pattern engineer or a cutter or a prototype developer? Any of those. What you're going to discover is that once you go through the process itself, there's going to be areas that you just have no interest in. You just are not going to like it. And that's okay, because we all have our gifts in certain areas. Some of you are going to be very strong in pattern engineering. Other ones are going to say, you know what? I hate math. I don't want to have anything to do with it. All I want to do is sew and make products. That is fine. Or, hey, I want to cut. All I want to do is cut 200,000 pieces, or work with other organizations that don't want to do cutting, because I like the strategy and the skills that's needed with those, with the electric cutters, with the rotary cutters, the knife cutters, or even the laser cutters, because that's another type of cutting system as well that's higher technology. And we'll talk about that more in session 2, and you'll get a chance to actually see it. But the point I'm making is that there's other things that you can do. You don't have to be stuck with one thing. Try them as you're going through the process. Be honest with yourself and say, hey, no, this is not what I want to do. Or I like 3 of these areas. Not a problem either, because That sounds to me like somebody that might want to be a trainer, because you really have a vision and you can see where it can actually go and can help other people actually see where things can go as well for them. The other thing is we want to recognize before the end of the program, we want you to be able to recognize at least 5 sectors in the sewn products industry that may interest you. Now, there are 14 sectors in the sewn products industry. That's a lot of sectors. And a lot of people, what they don't really understand or see is that 90% of our lives, probably 98% of our lives is in a sewn product. So you can imagine why there's so many different sectors. Because if you think about it, if you are really into cars or automobiles, you can make products that the car manufacturers, what do? They have the seat covers, right? They have the seats themselves that are made of leather. They have the sewn products that accessories that go inside of a car to put your trash in. What about construction? You have tool belts for construction, and where they're going to put their tools in. We have the agriculture department. The agriculture department, what do they use? They use grow bags to start seedlings, or even to have people be able to grow on their apartment complexes because they have small space. They have grain chutes that are actually for bags as well. They have bags that for soil. So there's all these different areas. You have the bedding industry. The bedding industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. What about the bedding industry? Well, most people are going to sleep on a mattress. That's the bedding industry. You're going to be sleeping on a sheet. That's the bedding industry. What about the mats that are in this from the shower that you put on the floor so that you step out and don't get the floor wet? That's the bedding industry. So that's another, just a couple of them that we actually want people to become familiar with and really kind of watch. Look at what's going on in our world, and you'll see sewn products in everything. Now, additionally, we want you to also be able to, as an objective, to navigate the AFI online resource library. And that library, again, is a really big and significant tool for you to use. You will have access to that library as soon as you register, after you register for the program. That access is going to give you, again, the content that lots of different contents that you can look at, you can read, you can look at different PowerPoints and familiarize yourself with so many different parts of the industry and really give yourself more education on that level. Now, you can still register or sign up on the resource library sign up sheet. But what's going to happen here is that if you're not a student, you're only going to have minimal access. So you will have some access with doing nothing. But if you are a student, then you have student access, which means you're going to be privy to all kinds of other information that's on there that's pertaining to your actual program that you're taking. Okay. And then we want to recognize how technical industries interact with sewn products. And I just briefly mentioned that electronics, robotics. So there's other areas as well that interact with sewn products. Concept to consumer, or I'm sorry, any questions so far? Anybody want to just pause and ask anything? And if I didn't mention it in the beginning, once we go through all the slides and I kind of give you the lecture of what the program is about, and at the end, if you just have any questions, we'll just have about 15 minutes and give you all an opportunity to just ask those questions. And if you think of something later on, there'll also be the email that's available for you to send an email for the questions as well. You don't have to ask them here if you're not comfortable doing that. Okay. So concept to consumer. So what does that actually mean? Well, it's concept to consumer is basically happens in phases. So think of it firstly, hey, I have this idea. I have something that I like to do. And I want to, or I have a product that I've been looking at for years, and I like the product, but there's some parts of it I like to change because there's some parts of it that I could just make this so much better. Well, that's the design or the concept phase. It's you have an idea about something that you want to do. Well, then from there, it can't just stop there, because like if you have a great idea, it doesn't mean not anything if you can't bring it to life. Okay. So from that point, what you're going to do is you're going to say, well, how do I actually start to work with this? And some places call this R&D, or research and development, or you're testing, you're making something, you're testing it, you're going back to the drawing board, you're going back and forth. And it's no different in our world as it is with a sculptor or a painter or whomever. You have a canvas. You have a canvas and you're creating something, and you look at it. You think in your head, hey, this was what my idea was, and you start doing something, and then you discover, no, that's not exactly what I was thinking. That's not what I'm talking about. So what do? You go back to the drawing board. Well, that's a part of the whole engineering and the pattern engineering in the testing of the concept that you have. So that's a part of the phase of bringing an idea, once it's complete, to the consumer. Now, once you do have that idea, it looks perfect, it looks exactly like you want it to look, that's the final product. And then that final product, of course, is taken now to a marketing phase where it goes to the consumer. Okay, so that's basically what we mean by concept to consumer. Excuse me. Anybody have any questions about that? The concept to consumer, also, just a little more information. We have what we call an end-to-end process. It's a workflow, and that end-to-end process starts you out with these areas. This is pretty much high level, but you will get a lot of documentation and the training to actually create something, design it, and to take it through the process. There's actually 2 products that you're going to be doing. One is going to be an apparel product, and the other one's going to be a non-apparel product. Excuse me. That non-apparel product most likely is going to be some sort of bag, something that's going to be pretty simple. Anybody that is not really comfortable with math, when fractions is what I'm talking about here, basic fractions, then this is something that you might want to brush up on with if you're deciding to take the course. However, I just wanted to let you know, I have had many people in the class that didn't know how to read a ruler, but by the time they finished the class, they were very comfortable with reading it. So again, we want to make sure that you have every opportunity. We will show you how to do that, to read the rulers, to read the measuring tapes, and see how all of it works together. Okay. And then the career pathways. So the pathways themselves it's basically a 4-course pathway. And this is the beginning of that pathway. So the introduction to sewn product manufacturing. So again, it's an introduction. We're familiarizing you with what the process is. We want you to go through the lab to actually sew something, to actually create a pattern, and then make the prototype, and review specification sheets, and look at those spec sheets and critically think through them and say, what is the spec sheet telling me that it wants? How do I interpret this? How do I counsel someone to say, well, this is what you said you want. However, based on what your specifications show, this is not what this is. And you may have to counsel someone into getting it right. So we'll teach you that skill as well. And then we go into the sewn product manufacturing basis. What does that do? Well, it expands on that knowledge that you got in the introduction. You're saying, now I'm serious about this and I want to move to the next level. And that sewn product manufacturing basics is just going to be a lot of hands-on, still some content reading as well, but a lot of hands-on. It's really a time where students get to be in the classroom, ask those questions, work through different ideas and concepts, work with each other, interpret each other's designs and concepts that they have. So you really get a lot of interaction, and to bring all of that to light of what you're thinking that you might want to do, and to really see where that introduction class or course benefited you to get into that sewn product manufacturing basics. And then, of course, we have the skills concentration training. And that is what I was mentioning before, which is I hate everything else but cutting. I don't want to do any of that. So then you may say, all I want to do is this particular skill set. And that's the program that you would actually take through AFI, and just cutting. or just pattern making and so forth. Then, of course, we go into the AFI Certified Train the Trainer. Typically, you can be a trainer with AFI or with Symbio in a single skill set. If that's what you want to master, that is not a problem at all. I am a master cutter, is what you say to yourself. I love this. I understand it. I understand the markings and the labeling. I understand grain lines and how patterns should flow. I understand how to use a rotary cutter, what a rotary cutter is versus a knife cutter versus a CNC laser cutting machine. And I really want to be a master at that. Well, you may want to be an AFI certified trainer in that area. If you're a sewer and all I want to do is sew, then maybe that's where you want to concentrate your efforts. And you start out with, like the current training team, and we start out with the introductory courses, and then you move on. You move on to the intermediate courses. Then you're going to move on to the more advanced courses and so forth. But every step along the way, you are being developed. You're being developed to deliver that training to other people, but you got to be able to do it yourself first. It's very difficult to train someone in something that you don't know anything about. And here, as far as the sectors of the sewn products industry, again, I did mention that, and I covered just a few of them: agriculture, transportation, apparel is the obvious one, but there are many different sectors that you could actually go into. Any questions? No questions? Apparel and non-apparel sewn products. Now, as you can see here, there are apparel products, fashion, healthcare, military uniforms, protective gear. And what is protective gear? Well, protective gear is just what we're doing now. Masks, medical gowns, gloves, anything like that. Your healthcare fields, not just clothing, but it could be the gloves that the surgeons use. There's just different items that you could actually make in those areas. Military uniforms, there's a lot going on in that particular industry. You can work with NASA, you can work with NATO, you can work with the military, every branch of the military itself. Now they have SpaceX coming up now, to where they've got a whole nother branch of the military that they're working with. And then, of course, fashion is the glitz, it's the glam, it's the hey, look at me. And a lot of people come through the fashion program at AFI with the idea that, look at me, I want to be wonderful. I have something that I always call, everybody's competing for the unwonderful spot. Everybody wants to be wonderful, but by the time they get through the program and then they go out and they start really competing in this field, they know they really love the field, but they start competing in this field, and then they discover, I really don't need to be wonderful. What I need is to be paid. And so now their mindset begins to change, and they start typically going into other areas of the sewn products industry, or they go into contract manufacturing, which is something that you can discuss with California Capital as well. And so all of these other areas start to come to light, because, initially fashion is fun. It's the sewn products industry it's great, but it's just a lot more to it than just that. In addition to clothing, you also have you have hats, you have shoes, you have there's just a number of different things that you can actually go into. It's more than just clothing. So we don't teach the hats and the shoes in our programs, though. That's something you would have to get the basics of fashion first, and then you'd have to go to a school to where they actually teach you about millinery and so forth, and how to make the hats and the shoes. So exciting area: bags, purses, all those things. Which brings me to another area of fashion, which is, what about the beauty industry? One of our instructors, she comes from the beauty industry, and she has a lot of ideas about what can be done in the beauty industry, because she has that knowledge. She is a professional in that field. And every time she works with a client, she sees something else that can be done. What about the aesthetics industry, right? The aesthetics industry, they have towels that they need. They have all kinds of different processes that they have to follow for cleanliness, yes, but they have sewn products in that particular field. You have people that have head wraps, if they want to have that. They have gowns and robes and, for hotels and so forth. So as you can see, there's so many different areas that you can actually, again, go through if you are really being a bit innovative and have some vision. You can have some other areas. So again, the most common type of sewn product, of course, is apparel, which is what many people think about. I did mention the medical apparel, isolation gowns. Face masks are one of the first products that we actually walked our introductory people into. That is one of the things that you are going to do in the course, is to make a face mask and be prepared to join the Sewn Products Network to make those face masks for other organizations. We've had organizations like the city of Rancho Cordova, some other FCCP, which is a young people's program that gets them into multiple types of fields that they need products for their field. They're nonprofits. Gloves, disposable gloves, plastic gloves, gloves that are fabric. So there's different types of products that you can actually do. The other types of apparels, what about line workers for jumpsuits? Believe it or not, SMUD actually is also a contract opportunity for anyone working in sewn products. And so you think SMUD, wow, what do they want? Well, they work with California Capital as well. Those line workers, they need jumpsuits. The construction workers, they need vests that have those what do you call those things? They have those strips of fabric on them so that you can see them well on the streets. So that's another type as well. NASA, space suits, if you're into that kind of thing. Any young person might be interested in something like that, so that one day when they become of age, they'll work with space apparel. Who knows? Just lots of things that's going to happen. Non-apparel sewn products. So again, just wanted to go over a few of these. And I mentioned it a little bit. When you wake up in the morning, what do you do? You're basically drying off after a shower. You're working with a sewn product. When you're sleeping in a sewn product, what is that? That's the bedding industry. When you're getting in your car, you're driving to work, you sit in your chair, you're sitting in a sewn product. You have the automobile industry, and you have the industry, customer service industry, where they have offices and they have all the products for that. What about builders? Builders who actually have those homes that they show. So what are they doing? They have those model homes. That means interior. So who's doing the curtains for that? Who's doing the couches? Who's sewing the cushions for the couches? All of that as well. Builders that carry tools and their leather in their belts. They have tool belts. Wear those leather. But guess what? In addition to this, you can also get into embroidery. So embroidery, there's a big business right now for these carry tools for construction workers to have their names embroidered on those. So that's another part of it. Transportation industry. What are you sitting in when you're flying in a plane? What are you sitting in an Amtrak? Or what about the light rail? There's always some sort of sewn product. If you really look around, you're going to see it everywhere. Cover crops, as I mentioned before, to prevent freezing for crops. That's agriculture. The USDA has a lot of contracts that's available. So again, and then we have the cosmetology industry, as I mentioned, capes used for customers, barbers, stylists. There's all kinds of, all these industries need some sort of sewn product. How far you want to go with it is up to you and your imagination of what you can actually do with it, with the skill set that you're going to learn. And just a little bit of an insight, I usually like to give people some sort of indication of what those industries are making. And I did mention that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So the bedding industry, just a few of the insights. And by the way, this PowerPoint is recorded, so you can always go back and re-listen to it and so forth, and look at the slides more closely and so forth. So you will have that opportunity. And so expected growth just in the bedding industry. We could do a bunch of different industries, but let's just look at the bedding industry. If you look at the chart itself from 2015 and look at what the expectation is up to 2025. And then of course, mattresses, bed linens, pillows, blankets. Look at all of that. There's just like the potential is huge. And if you really look from a business perspective, when you're writing your business plan and you say, Well, I expect to capture 1% of the market. Well, 1% of X billions of dollars is quite a bit, you know. So there's room for you in a market if you want to do the bedding industry. There's room in all the markets if you're looking at from a percentage perspective what you could actually obtain. Now, this was the part that that I just wanted to bring up as well. I mentioned it briefly early on, and that is e-commerce versus people that are going to malls. How much is happening online? If you guys weren't familiar, you know, Amazon's stock went up like thousands of percentages. They started out at $300 something until what? The pandemic hit, and then everybody had to be home. People were buying stuff online because that's the only options they really had, and their stocks just shot up. So what that's really telling me is what? People are trying to make money creating a product, and how am I going to sell the product? How am I going to market the product? Well, this is how they're doing it now. Stuff is online. This shows you something different based on when it before the pandemic hit. But if you flip this, you can now see how whatever product that you want to create or make can be marketed and launched on an online platform, and you can earn income for your family and for yourself and build something. Sewing operations. In the sewing operations, everything is obviously going to start with the sewing. You got to have, if you can't sew it together, then you can't show anybody anything. You can't show a buyer anything from a merchandising perspective. You can't have it put something on your website so other people can see it. So you really have to be able to have the sewing operations as far as mastering it as much as you can, or get someone to actually do the sewing for you. But remember something here, and a lot of times what people don't really understand is that, oh, well, I don't like sewing. Well, you don't have to like it. Just know what needs to be done. Know whether a product is a product that is production ready. Know whether or not the seam allowances are finished the way they should be, or the details of the seam allowances are what they should, or what you would like for them to be. So a sample maker is a very important job. If your sample maker is not good, then your product is not good. So again, this is one of the areas as learning sewing operations that you can actually work in as a sample maker, or you could be a mass production sewist. This is someone that's on an assembly line. What they're doing is, all they're doing is one thing. I do sides, or I do zippers all day. I just do zippers. That's what I do. Okay. Then you have the custom sewists. You say, I want to make clothing for my culture because we have a specific type of apparel that we wear as women or men or whatever. And we have one of our instructors, that's her job. That's what she does. She has a business making custom apparel for her culture. That's a really good market if that's where you see that there's a need. Find a need and fill it. Okay. And then of course there's the fashion designer. That's the, look at me, I'm wonderful people. I want my name in lights. You know, so nothing wrong with that. I want to be at Premier Vision in Paris. I want to be, you know, in Japan. I want to be in Canada. I want to be everywhere at the shows. Not a problem if that's where you want to be. Okay. Now, just a little side note here, an operator must recognize when to switch hats from an apparel sewist to that should say to a non-apparel sewist. So the differences between the two is that when you're sewing apparel types of products, people are looking at the details. Whereas if you're sewing for a non-apparel product, they're not looking at the detail as much in the inside as the apparel. So as an example, if you're sewing a bag cover that goes over a microscope, nobody cares what the inside looks like. They just want to make sure it's covered so it doesn't get a bunch of dust in it and it doesn't get ruined and they have to go spend another $3,000 on the one. Right? So those are the hats that you have to look at when you're creating a product, when you're making it, when you're looking at a spec sheet and someone's telling you they want something specific and how much you're going to charge them for it based on what they want. Can I counsel them to tell them, well, in this particular product, this is not necessary. It will cut down on your cost. That's administrative. That's learning your field. That's learning what it is that you, how a product is actually made, which is to your benefit. Pattern engineering. Now, you are going to learn to create a pattern in this course. It will be a simple pattern. It's something that that you will, like I said, it'll most likely be some sort of bag, and you'll just get a chance to use the rulers, to use the different types of tools, to actually think through, write pattern cards, write out pattern pieces versus the number of cut pieces. All of those types of things are things that you're going to be able to do in this program. Now, what we are not going to do is technology patterns using the computer. Patterns using the computer is something entirely different. As an introductory program, our job is to make sure that you understand how patterns are created. You need to know about allowances. You need to know grain lines, what they mean. What does that look like? Is it a straight grain line? Is it a bias cut grain line? Am I going to cut this on the cross grain, depending on the type of product that I'm going to make? These are things that the pattern engineers must learn to do. You're going to see all of the algebra that's actually in that. The basic fractions in the algebra. We're talking about right angles or 90-degree angles, circular skirts. All that's algebra. People don't, that's the math that's involved in it. Try not to be intimidated by that, however, because once you actually start working in it, you'll see how simplistic that it really is. So we are going to, again, focus our training on drafting basic patterns by hand and give you guys the hands-on experiential treatment and the learning of how that actually comes together. The industrial cutting. Now, with the industrial cutting, this is where we're definitely going to make sure that you get the hands-on for that as well. We use what we call a rotary cutting machine. That cutter you can use at home. If you're the person that says, I really want to be a cutter and I want to learn how to cut material, cut fabric, and I'm going to cut plies of fabric. You can be set up at home to do that type of a service for someone. And I can tell you that in any sewn product, 90 or probably 70%, 75% of it is cutting. It's a good job to skill set to have. You would be able to, if you needed to get started in that type of a business, you would be able to use California Capital as a source to get the equipment for that, to get a loan to get the equipment for that. And I can tell you the equipment for cutting, for a rotary cutter is less than $200, and you can get started for something like that. It's really, really cost effective. But you cannot do it without knowing what to look for. You have to know patterns, you have to know the labels, you have to know what a notch is, you have to know all these things to make sure that the sewer or the sewist can actually put the product together based on how it's cut. So again, that's something that you really want to get to know the entire process, or what we call end-to-end process, so that you understand which way you want to go. How do we reinforce our learned concepts? Well, we reinforce our concepts through, again, the online reference library. So when you're looking at this, during the lab is one thing. We're actually working hands-on. Before that, again, we want to make sure that you're doing the reading. We want to make sure that you are coming back with questions. And you need to see how creating concepts is important, what the pattern engineering is, what the administration is behind it. So what I'm going to do right now is just going to take a moment real quickly and give you guys a quick look. So this is our online resource library. And it's a virtual library. So basically what happens here is this is where you're going to come for your content reading and familiarizing yourself with the knowledge that you need before you come to class. And so if you click here on the virtual library itself, basically what you're going to do is, just to give you a rundown, is you're going to sign up, first of all, for the library itself, like I said, and there will be a job aid for you to actually see. All the content that we have here, you can see, you can do your reading, and just to open up one of the chapters, and the chapters are specific to what you're going to be learning. If you're going to be learning about design, this gives you will give you the objectives of this particular chapter and the overview of it. And then you're going to learn about what elements of design mean. If you're creating a product, what does that mean? How do you analyze? Everything begins with analyzing something. So in the analysis phase, who is your target market? What season are you working with? What product do you need? What fabrics do you need? And the products, as far as notions and findings, am I going to use zippers? Am I going to use buckles? Am I going to use whatever the product calls for? If I'm making a non-apparel versus an apparel bag? What are the details of that? So these are all the things that you're going to learn as far as creating and getting that concept out of your head onto an actual product or into an actual product. Everything that you go through, there is a check your understanding. Now, we want to make sure you understand this is not a pass or fail. This is us familiarizing you and giving you the opportunity to check your knowledge and your understanding of what you just read through and what you actually understand. And if you don't understand something, when you come to the lab, that's when you're going to bring those questions. You're going to say, hey, I didn't quite understand this. Can we kind of go over that? And then we make sure that we go over this information with you so that that you've read, so that it's better ingested within the lab itself. So that's just kind of a really short view of what you would be looking at as far as that's concerned. Now, one of the things also that was asked to us was how we responded to the COVID crisis. And as we all know, this just uprooted and changed a lot of people's worlds. So the way that we responded to it was we sprang into action with our partners, California Capital, Symbio, AMW Design, and other organizations that actually provide workforce development training, Charles A. Jones, SETA. So all of these organizations that know and really wanted to bring in to play, getting some skill sets or some fundamental skill sets for their members. And so that's how we came in as an educator. So our job is to educate people and to get them the skill sets they need so they can go out and use those skills and increase their ability to earn. And there's nothing worse I can think of as losing your job, not being able to support your family or support the household itself. But when you have a skill set that you can actually use, now what you're doing is you're coming back you're looking at this in another way. You're saying, what are going to be the benefits of me learning something? How can I actually help my family or myself? Well, again, entrepreneurship, you're going to provide a job for yourself. You can work in what we call the gigging economy, people calling and saying, hey, I need a pattern maker or I need someone to cut. It could be individual or it could be with an organization. So there are multiple options, okay, that you have in order to take this skill set to the next level. I would really hope to see we're really building our staff as far as teaching is concerned. So if you're interested in something like that, you definitely want to get through this program so you can get through the steps and get to that pathway where it's going to position you to become an instructor, okay, for the skill set that you're really interested in. One of the things that we actually are going to be doing or launching, and probably by the end of the year or maybe in the summer, is we're going to relaunch our academy. And that academy is for students that are between the ages of 12 and 19, to actually bring something to them because they have a whole nother world of what they're doing. So we want to bring that into play as well, okay? Now, how do you register? You're going to register through California Capital. Again, Sarah did have the link in the chat so that you can just click the link and register that way. It will be open all the way through June. What we've done, based on the experience that we've had in the last one, was that we wanted people to be able to, that were not able to do a Tuesday class in March, to have the opportunity to do a class the next month or the following month, which is why we have it out to June. Next month, which is the month of, which is going to be the month of April, it's going to be on a Wednesday that the labs are. Then the next month, it'll be on a Thursday, and then the next month will be on a Friday. So even if you are not able to register for a lab for March, which is beginning March 16th, you can still say, I'm interested in this. I want to get registered, but I want to come to the May program or the May lab. And that is perfectly okay. I want to reiterate that there still are only 5 slots in each morning and afternoon session. Additionally, if there are only the minimum we'll take in a session though is 3. So if there's not at least 3 people in that session, we'll have to move it to the next month. So you can keep that in mind as well. Okay.
I just want to say really quickly too, like perhaps you're thinking about taking the lab in May or June. It would be wise to sign up now because the spots are so limited, and the sign up is going to stay open, and so anyone can register. So if you are thinking about maybe, a date in June works better, or the day in May works better that the labs are going to be on, I just wouldn't wait, because we don't want you to have your heart set on, May, and then it's filled up when you check back with us. That's all.
Okay. It's all okay, great. And then another piece is that in respects to a specific culture and language, again, we want to make sure that you let California Capital know at time of registration whether or not some assistance is needed for the language. Now, if it's an organization and you're saying, I just want this entire class to be Hmong instruction, or Arabic instruction, or Afghani instruction, or Russian, or whatever the case is, then you need to specify that, because you may be taking the entire class of that, like a first or a second session in that language. And if that's closed, then that's closed. And unless a person actually has that language or speaks that language, they wouldn't be able to get into that. But anyone can get into the English one. They just may need an interpreter to help them along through the class. That's not a problem, from my understanding. Okay, well, that concludes session 1. And I just wanted to, again, make sure that I gave everyone an opportunity to open up the floor for any questions that you may have for me at this time. And just please unmute yourself and ask whatever question that you want to ask. Or Sarah, can you handle it?
Hi, hello. I'm Sheila, and I just wanted to know, how can we review this this webinar? Will we be sent a copy of it or anything, or will it be on the website?
This webinar is being recorded, so I will distribute a copy as soon as it's done uploading into the cloud. I will send it out to those that are on this call right now, and it's also going to be a link at the bottom of the registration for next Tuesday's part 2 of this webinar training. That way, if anyone goes to register for next week, they can catch up and they can watch this week's webinar that they missed.
Thank you. And I'm in this class, but how do I sign up for next Thursday? I guess I missed it. I didn't see anywhere to sign up for next Thursday, unless I overlooked it or something. Do I just go back on the website, or did you guys send an email?
So the webinar for the second webinar
Yes.
is next Tuesday. Sorry, I'm not sure. Maybe I didn't enunciate that through the microphone enough, but it's next Tuesday, same time. And I can put a link in the chat to register. I believe the way I set it up through Zoom is that when you went to register, you could choose, did you want to register for both? But that's okay. I will put the registration link in the chat right now and you can register. It's the same link though. So the same link you clicked in today to join, it will be the same link next week. We want to make it easy for those of you that are here with us this Tuesday.
Okay, because I don't know it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then if I could just add to that also, Sarah, if I'm not mistaken, that this is also going to be loaded on YouTube, I believe. Are you guys still doing that?
Yep, we'll put it up on our YouTube page. That way, if anyone needs translation, it will have the subtitles at the bottom, and you can watch it with the subtitles at the bottom in whichever language you prefer.
Okay, that's really awesome. And then one other thing I forgot to mention is that every one of the classes, whether it's for March or April or May, it will have a registration deadline. Okay, and that registration deadline must be met. We have to have the roster for the students is no different than any community college or whatever that you might go to, and you cannot register the day before. It has to be done. Your packages need to be done. Your tools need to be set out for you. There's a whole process that has to be ready for you. So the registration deadline must be met. If you miss the registration deadline, then you will have to be signing up for another month or session or what have you. Okay.
Yep, and the deadline we chose for this time around is March 9th, which gives you 1 week after next week's session to make your decision, register on our website, pay, and then you'll be all set to start your first lab on March 16th.
Okay. And then also, once you're registering, go through the process of what California Capital requires. What happens is I receive that information, and you will receive a documentation showing you how to sign up on the FI Resource Library, because you are now officially, as a registered student, you can go there, sign up, and then get your password so that you can get access to that area. What I actually require everybody do is I need to know that before the lab starts, if you're having any issues getting in. We never want to have people in the lab and say, oh, I wasn't able to get into the resource library, so I couldn't do the reading. So that's why the registration deadline, this is the process for everybody to get prepared and to get all your access rights and your codes and things like that, so that everything has a smooth transition into that next phase. Okay, and thank you so much, Sheila, for your question. Any other questions?
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. So after we register, we should get an email with the link for the resource library, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And that would be a document that actually, Kimberly, I remember I did talk to you. I sent that to you. If you didn't receive it, then make sure that you check your spam. Okay, because that was actually sent out. So everyone, if I send something to you, make sure you check your spam and then save us into your email, so you get everything in the future.
Okay. Is it coming from with your name on it, or?
Yes, it will come
Okay.
from Agee Fashion Institute, CAGEE at Agee Fashion Institute.
Okay, and my other question is, if we register and say we want to pick the lab that we want, will we be able to find out where the availability is? So if there's maybe, 2 openings left before you cancel that class, is there any way we can find that out in advance?
Sarah? I can't hear you, Sarah. Unmute.
Sorry. Thank you, Connie. How I can do it is, for those of you that are interested in registering the lab, once you pay, I can either share the Google Doc and it can show slots, or you can just contact me directly and say, like, I'm really interested in the PM slot. Is there any spaces available? But yeah, once everything goes through on our website and our accounting department confirms that the payment was received, I can let you know, like, hey, we have 2 spots for AM, 4 spots for PM. So you can just reach out to me, whatever works easiest for you, but I'll be able to let you know that information directly.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kimberly, for your question. Any other questions? No other questions? Going once, twice? Oh, another question, Kim?
Because this sounds really interesting, I didn't know it involved so much regarding the sewn industry. I'm overwhelmed already with the information. It's great. For the school, are there grant opportunities or financial aid opportunities not for myself? I'm asking for someone else.
No, we don't have any grants at this time.
Okay.
We don't have, but we do make it very easy for people to go through the programs. So for technology wise, I don't know if everybody knows about this, but a couple of things that we've implemented is that one, we make it very affordable so that people can even make payments if they want to, depending on the cost of the course itself. And now we actually accept cryptocurrency. So anybody that's probably into something like that type of technology, there's a portion of the class that actually can be registered for and tuition paid in that way as well, just so you all know. Okay. And is Mary still on the line? Let me see. Mary, Mary Farr, do you have anything that this is one of our instructors, as I had mentioned before.
Yes,
and I wanted to give her
I'm
an
still here.
opportunity.
I'm still here. What would you like me to say, Connie? My experience?
Yes, your experience. You
Yes,
came
I
through
would love.
California Capital.
Of course, I would love to say that. And I see Zena, my friend, she's there. Hi, Zena. But you can't see me because I'm still driving. So quickly, what I could say is it was a great opportunity. I didn't know anything about sewing. Seriously, when I joined this, it was something like I wanted to do and I was interested in. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to try this. And I totally was scared of the machine. I mean, you know that, Connie, right? When I came in, I didn't even know how to thread a machine. I didn't know how to sew. I was surprised by the end of the introductory course, I was able to do a little bag. And I was just like, wow, I can do a bag. I did a mask. So if I did it, I'm sure everybody else can. So I know, I mean, with my very zero limited skills. And it was very interesting. Connie made it, and thank you, Connie. Connie made it, the class interesting, and she believed in us. And then I took it to the next step, and then the next step, and the next step, to the point that I wanted to be an instructor, especially to help the Arabic community, to teach them, especially those who don't know English and they want to take that class in Arabic. I'll be glad to teach it in Arabic. However, I have to take I have to go through the program, the training program, and get certified so I can do that. So I'm still in the process. I'm almost there. And I am, again, Zena knows Zena and I are in this Access. It's the Arabic Community Center where we try to empower women, help them, like you said, Connie, to learn a new skill set and be able to provide opportunity and become independent, provide them opportunity to become financially independent, where they can join the network, be able to provide for themselves and bring in money and provide for themselves and their families. So it's a great opportunity, and I hope people take advantage of this.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. One of the reasons I wanted Mary to just kind of mention here is because, like she said, she came in, she did not know how to sew at all. She did not know how to use the sewing machine. She learned how to draft a pattern. Now here she is almost a year later, and she's one of the instructors for helping other women or whomever, men too, that come through and really have a desire to do it. And the intimidation factor is there. I can admit that. And so, but when you have someone that has done it, has come through California program and working with AFI and then working with Symbio and the opportunities that are available, to you, it makes it so much more worthwhile when you step out and just take that chance and have the faith that you can do it. You can do it, and we're going to help you through it. So we're patient over here. We're going to help you through it. Whatever you need to do, we can get you there. Okay. All right. No other questions. I'm done, Sarah.
I have a question.
Okay. Hi, Zena.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great.
Thank you. So you spoke about the academy between 12 and 19. Do you know estimated time when you'll do this, or you'll start with that academy?
Well, right now what's happening is that we're in the process of hiring a director for it, and we are basically mapping everything out. And typically what we do is we start the academy in September at the fall, because we take them through 9 months of the program. And then at the end of the year, which typically is in the summer, they do a show. And so
Oh.
we're hoping that there's a lot of training, 9 months of training every set. It's only on Saturdays, and it is extracurricular. So basically, there's a lot of rules behind it as far as the students are concerned, and whether or not they're eligible to even be in the program if they're passing their classes. I mean, we have them sign contracts just like we do the parents. If they're not passing their classes, they can't do the program. So there's just other pieces that go along with the academy itself. So we have to hire the director. We do have someone that is actually working with AFI right now that has expressed an interest in taking on that role. And we're hoping that at some point, because I've asked the questions before to the operations director at California Capital, but we may even be able to kind of solicit that in a way through them as well. We just don't know what the liability requirements would be for students that are under the age of 18. So we'll have to see what happens with that.
Are you going to announce about this through your institution or through Capital California? How?
It's the academy is through AFI, but the solicitation and introducing people like we're doing with you could definitely come through California Capital. And so it just really depends, because this is really, like we said, it's education to employment. And this is the beginning. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that 2 of my academy students, one has already started his business and he's working with California Capital. He is a manufacturer. He started as at the age of 15 and through the Met High School. And so now he's a part of the Symbio network and working with contracts or trying to work with contracts, getting everything done, started his LLC and so forth. And one of my other academy students is graduating in May from Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. And she, as a designer, is, matter of fact, she's the one that really wants to give back and help the academy students because she came through there as a teenager.
Wow.
So that in itself is really good for them to see a person that came through the academy and go all the way through with their education and see where it is that they can go from 2 perspectives. The young man that started his business didn't go to art school, but he said to me, he says, I don't see why I need to now. So really what he wants to do is, if he goes to college, he's going to go for business because he knows the skill set. He doesn't want to do that. He says, I need to know business, you see? Whereas the other young lady, she went for the fashion, she got best designer, and she's in Italy, and, she's going all over the place, with that skill set. And now she's coming back and to try to give back to young people and help them to really see that they can do this like she did,
So how we will know about the academy? I mean, through you or through the Capital California?
It might be either one, but I don't want to say completely yet because I don't want to, it's still conversation that has to be had and how it'll actually be delivered. But the fact that I am in constant contact with Lamia, and I believe Mary has also expressed an interest in working with young people as well. So you will know. Yeah, you will know.
Thank you very much.
For sure. Zina, for sure, you will know. I'll keep you well informed.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Thank you.
Education to employment. That's what we want. We want those young people to be educated, to find something that they love and they're passionate about, and take it all the way through and be able to come up with a career for themselves and just be empowered, and on so many levels. Okay.
Thank you. Good luck.
Hi, ladies. I have a quick question, please. I was wondering, do you take Ethereum for the cryptocurrency?
I do indeed.
Yes, that's awesome. Would you please private message me your ETH account so I can send you some money?
No, it's going to be on the form. It's going to be on the form,
right? Is it on the form?
Once we register, it will ask if we want to pay by crypto. Will it ask?
Not through California Capital. If you're paying by cryptocurrency, that's something different. We'll have to actually have that discussion about what that. Right now, you can sign up for classes through AFI with Ethereum. It's just that with this particular program here, that's something we'll have to discuss with the operations director and the accounting department and Sarah and I will have that conversation with the operations director and see how that can be translated.
Awesome. Will I be able to put my email, or how do you want to stay in touch about that?
Okay. And so if you want to go ahead and contact Sarah Harding, and through California Capital, and then that'll be the first start, and then they will all have that conversation, and we'll definitely let you know. Did you have a particular, were you thinking about the course for March, or which one were you thinking about? What month?
March, or if you guys have it in April, that would be better.
April is also April, starting April 14th, and that would probably be better to give them an opportunity to set up, because cryptocurrency is a new phenomenon, of course, with technology and so forth, but we'll see how that would work, but April would probably be better. And then Sarah, what do you think about that? Because this is something that is has to be discussed.
Sure. So what I'm thinking off the top of my head is that, so California Capital, to my knowledge, doesn't accept cryptocurrency. So what I'm thinking is that they were to pay you, Constance, and then we could invoice you, and you could send it our way.
Okay.
In the form of US dollars, whether that's an invoice or PayPal, if that works for you. But we can have this discussion offline. But to my knowledge, unless something happened that I wasn't aware of in county.
So you said, Constance, I'm sorry, you said to contact you and then give you my email address. Well, you guys already have my email address, but is that what, I'm just trying to get clarification.
Can you message me in the chat? And then we can
Yes. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we're not that hip. We don't have cryptocurrency yet, but it might come in the near future.
Yeah, but I have to be. We're talking about global here. So we have students, asking us about the program in our classes, just our individual classes globally. So with the technology and the new phenomenon of everything that's happening with the different forms of payment, then this was something that we decided that we'd actually launch for this year. So to make sure that we are offering the opportunity. So but we can definitely, I hadn't talked to Mike Schirmer about that, the operations director, but I will.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, we can get something figured out. I don't know. Again, we're not that cool yet, but hopefully soon.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Anybody else? Any more questions? Oh, Kimberly, another question?
No, not a question. I looked in my email and I can't find it in the spam either. So maybe I just need to verify my email address to you.
Okay. And yes, I believe you sent me a text message as well. Yes. So I will look at that again.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll get you taken care of. We'll get, we got you. And and they already confirmed that you had registered for the morning class starting on March 16th. So you're fine. So don't worry about that. So we'll get you taken care of. Any other questions?
I just have a comment. I just want to thank you guys, because one of the things that we talk about a lot in our family and with friends is vocational training and skill sets for young people. So I want to commend you on what you're doing for those young people. And I know it'll be successful in advance. You'll probably have to turn people away.
Well,
but I just want to thank you for the opportunity for this and for what you're going to do for the young people.
You are welcome. I appreciate the what you said there. We aim to help. We aim to help its community and pass the word as you guys pay it forward. Pass the word to other people to go to California Capital, and there'll be this. Like we said, this is a recording, and people will be able to watch it on YouTube. They can watch it on also on the California Capital website. I mean, I'll probably end up having it on mine. So there's just so many different opportunities for them to actually hear this. And this is just session one. We're really going to get more technical on the next one. So it'll be kind of interesting to see. Okay. Are we good, Sarah?
I'm on mute again.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for attending this morning and hanging out with us for an hour and a half of your day. And we appreciate your time. And of course, please join us next Tuesday so you can get part 2. And like Constance said, if you know anyone might be interested, they can definitely watch this webinar before next week if they want to play catch up and be ready to go for next Tuesday. And then same link. So link you used today to join is the same link next week. One person was asking about that earlier, but I did put the link to register in the chat just in case anyone needed that again, easy access. And with that being said, I think we're all wrapped up. I think I have a chat. Let me just make sure it wasn't a question. Okay, yeah. Okie dokie.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
That was
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Have a great day. Take care.